Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll give it a few more seconds as more people get entered into the webinar. We'll get started momentarily. Okay, looks like we've got a good amount of folks who have entered the webinar, so we'll go ahead and get kicked off. Thank you all for joining and coming to today's Lunch and Learn, Atomic Assessments for Nursing in Canvas. Happy National Nurses Week to you all out there, those of you that celebrate. I'm Nick Rebney. I'm the Vice President of Revenue for Atomic Jolt. Today, we're going to show you our Atomic Assessments tool and how it seamlessly integrates into Canvas to enhance teaching and learning for your nursing program. I'll quickly go over the agenda for this 30-minute session. I'll start with a brief overview of Atomic Jolt, and then we'll dive into a live demo of Atomic Assessments right in our Canvas LMS. During the demo, please feel free to put all your questions into the chat or the Q&A, and we'll be sure to answer them all. The session is being recorded, so we will follow up with everyone after to share the recording. And if you'd like a more personalized one-on-one demo of our tools, or if you'd like to elevate your conversation with a free trial, we'll include a link to our calendar in that email as well. In the follow-up email, we'll also announce the winner of the Uber Eats giveaway. Everyone who is here today is entered to win, so be sure to check that email to see if you're the lucky winner. With that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get kicked off here. As I mentioned, I'll start with a brief overview of Atomic Jolt for those who aren't familiar with us, and then we'll dive into that live demonstration. Atomic Jolt, we're innovators in teaching and learning. That's all we do. We work with education institutions and organizations to enhance and augment teaching and learning. We work with a lot of the major LMS systems out there, Canvas being a primary one that we support, and we seek to fill gaps that institutions have. So many of you have told us we can't do this or that. In nursing, for specifically, we can't create NCLEX next-gen items, and we build products and services that support to that end. We work with millions of students and hundreds of institutions around the globe. You see a sampling of which on your screen today. We've got a number of products that we support as well as custom development capabilities. We're going to focus on Atomic Assessments today, but many of you out there probably use Atomic Search in Canvas, which allows that full text searching. Otherwise, we'll show you some of our other tools, specifically Atomic Assessments today. All right, how does Atomic Assessments benefit you in nursing education? Well, first of all, what we do is we integrate very tightly into Canvas. So we seamlessly integrate our tool, our assessment tool, in your system, which means that you can deliver both formative and summative assessment directly inside of Canvas. So think about being able to create as many items as you want, as many exams as you want, and deliver those seamlessly to your students. Your students won't need to register for other systems or other areas. They just log into Canvas as they always do, and they go straight into the assessments that you deliver them. You can also embed it seamlessly in Canvas pages. So if you want to incorporate Atomic Assessments more as a formative learning environment, you can do so deeply within Canvas. We support lots of different item types beyond just the NCLEX next-gen item types. So even you in nursing, you want some other items beyond NCLEX, you'll have those as well as a broader applicability across your institution if there's interest. For those of you that know what it is an LTI 1.3 tool, but all that means is it's very seamless as I've discussed. There is AI question generation as well, which we can talk more about. Specific to nursing, we do incorporate all of the NCLEX next-gen item types that you see here, certainly all of those that the board identifies. You can do plus-minus scoring, you get detailed analytics, so it is a robust, complete program for your nursing. All right, I'll jump out into Canvas and we'll take a look. The first thing we'll do is we'll look at Atomic Assessments from a student standpoint. So you can see I'm in student preview mode. If I was a student, I'd just come into my Canvas dashboard here with all of my different courses, and then I'd go into the course that I was looking for the assessment from. And let's say I have an assignment that's been given to me by my instructor. we'll jump in here and take a look at this information. So let's say I was assigned this 85 item NCLEX exam. I can enter that exam, and what you'll see here is that the student isn't launched anywhere else other than in Canvas. They have direct seamless access. So essentially that integration that we have is pulling their username and who they are and authenticating them into the exam. But from a student's perspective, they don't feel like they've left Canvas. I can make this full screen that captures the entire real estate of the screen. It still works with your proctoring services or lockdown browser because we're still within the frame of Canvas here. And I'll go through a few of the different question types that you might expect with a tool like this. You can see, first of all, that it is a 2-column format, so it looks very similar to the NCLEX exam with the ability to deliver information on the left-hand side and then item or items out to the right-hand side for students. You can see some nurses' notes in this example along with a multiple choice question. You've got case study trend items where students can work through different tabs of the chart, just like NCLEX, and then respond to different item types. So you've got a lot of different capability to deliver the seamless way that you want to provide questions. We'll flow through a few examples just to show you the different item types. Again, a case study trend item with the multiple select. You've got case study trend item with a matrix item type, so giving the students exposure to all of those different item types that they need. And you can have multiple items on the same screen, so the student works through the tabs, and you can see there's 3 distinct items here, all of which are multiple select items. Token highlight, certainly a key piece of the NCLEX that students need exposure with, otherwise they won't really know how to answer that item on the exam, and so they've got that as well. You can embed multimedia in your items. So this won't come through the webinar here, but this is the sound of a lung auscultation that the student can listen to and then respond appropriately to the question that they're receiving. I'll just jump ahead to some other item types. Of course, bow tie item type, another item type that's difficult for the students the first time they see it. So give them exposure early and often in your program by being able to develop these particular items. We showed you audio items. You can also embed video. So here's a YouTube video, or you could use Canvas Studio or any other video provider that you've got to embed a video in the item to deliver that experience to the students. You can create case studies that build on top of each other, or on top of themselves. So here's a case study with the next 6 questions building upon itself. So as the student progresses through this particular item, they get additional unfolding information, so you can provide a very realistic simulation or example for them. All right, well, this is a little bit about that student experience. From more of a summative angle with some of the different item types that we support. But again, all of those NCLEX Next Gen item types would be available for you in this particular situation. I'll pause here for some questions. Looks like there's a question. What other nursing schools are using atomic assessments? We have dozens of other nursing schools. Love to connect with you one-on-one. There's certain ones that are okay with us sharing the information and others that would prefer not, but we can certainly hook you up with a school in your domain and area and provide you that information. So we'll take down your name, Karen, and send you that off to the side. Okay, beyond the sort of summative example as you've seen here, you can do formative examples as well. So if I go into Canvas Pages, my instructor has embedded a interactive self-check inside of the pages. So if you use Canvas Pages to disseminate information to your students, you can embed atomic assessments directly therein. So as opposed to just delivering information that the student just passively reads, you can see here there's a drag and drop item. So I've taken this image that otherwise was static and put some labeling boxes over the top here, and then have my student label that so that they can actually practice themselves in terms of what that information is. So they get a sense of how well they know this particular item currently, and gives them much more instantaneous feedback on how they're progressing. So you can embed as many and as frequent of these types of self-checks or interactions throughout. And you can either use these as gradable item that goes straight to the Canvas gradebook, or as just a practice item. In either case, you get personalized information about how each student has performed. Okay, I'll pause there. There's another question. Who sets this up? What is required to get to the point that you're showing? So it depends a little bit on your institution. So what we're providing you is a tool for which you can build assessment items. We're giving you all the templates necessary to develop the NCLEX items as well as these other item types. Obviously, this isn't a very specific NCLEX item type because we're labeling an image. There is obviously drag and drop and ranking or drop down type questions on the NCLEX, which you have access to, but there's many other item types. You have the opportunity to build these items. We also provide you 85 NCLEX items already built that you can deliver out of the box. Those are more for duplication, I would say, as in terms of using those as models and then delivering additional items from there. But as far as embedding atomic assessments inside of pages, that's quite simple for anyone to do. So if I go to a page in my Canvas, I'll just show you an example of how that's done. And let's say I wanted to make this particular page more interactive. Right now you can see it's pretty static. It's the student just kind of interacting with the learning content on the screen. Let's say I wanted to drop an atomic assessments item at this spot. I can select from the Canvas editing feature, atomic assessments, and then it's going to pull up my item bank. So I can either build an item like you just saw directly here from scratch using some of these templates that you might have. Or in my case, I have additional items in my item bank that I've already built, and I can just grab that item. So I can find maybe this cell concept that I've built before. I could preview that item here if I'd like. You know, this is a kind of labeling type exercise. I can insert that directly into the page and click Save. And at that point in time, it becomes integral to the page that the student is viewing. So very simple for you to embed these items throughout your course. But again, you would have to develop a lot of these items yourself. We do have portable options, so you can embed or transfer over your Canvas quizzes and new quizzes into atomic assessments to start there, and then build additional items. Of course, new quizzes and classic quizzes does not have NCLEX capabilities, so you would have to build those items from the beginning. But any items that you've already built, you can port those over directly into atomic assessments. Okay, beyond that, from a data perspective, you have a lot of different options. So you can see this item I've just embedded in this page. The settings allow me to control what that means. So I can make this a gradebook entry and determine how many points possible, or I don't have to take a grade on it. But you should know that if you do take a grade on it, it does go directly to the Canvas gradebook. So there's nothing additional that you have to do or set up. It automatically links to your Canvas gradebook if you've checked that box there. So it makes it really seamless for you. From the more of the summative side, once you've delivered an exam, you have reports. So again, you have the settings option to be able to decide how you want that exam to render in the gradebook. In this case, I have it going to the gradebook. I have it worth 100 points. I can decide who sees it. I can assign it to everyone, give them a certain amount of attempts, or I can do overrides, which means I can give individual students maybe additional time, or whatever their accommodation might be. After students begin taking the exam, I have detailed reports. So beyond the scoring that I get that goes directly to the gradebook, I get information that nurse educators have told us they need. So Cronbach's Alpha, similar to KR20, is available for every exam. And then we have detailed information about how the student does. Since you've used Canvas in the past, I'm sure you're familiar with SpeedGrader. Atomic Assessments works with SpeedGrader. So if you do want to provide additional information to the student in terms of how they've performed, you can. You can see it automatically scores the item, but then if you want to provide feedback to that individual beyond the feedback that's generated from the question, you're able to provide additional feedback to your students in that way. You can then see different levels of data. So if you wanted to look at responses to each and every question, you can look at how those questions are performing across your student base. You can see every item from kind of a aerial view and each one of your students going down. There's only 2 students in this particular example, but you would have all of your students listed here, and then all of the items and how they've performed. From there, you can look at question stats. So this gets into many of the information that you might be interested in. You can see how the upper 27 and lower 27% of the class or the score on this exam performed on that item. So give you that sense. You get the discrimination index, the point by serial. You got different options that you can make available in this chart. So you can see some different options that you can make visible to yourself and as you're looking at this information. It's always available in here, but you can certainly download any of this data to combine it to information that is part of another data warehouse that you're using. And then you can look at detail from individual students. So if you've chosen to tag your items with various taxonomies, such as NCLEX client needs categories, other learning outcomes that you have, you can then see detailed reporting about how your students have performed on these particular on this particular exam under those particular tags. So you can see this individual score, Kelly's score here on the exam, and then how she's performed on these different categories. You can look at a summary of that, or you can go into a more detailed explanation of how she's performed on these different categories. Again, you have the ability to create your own taxonomies and tag your items accordingly to deliver this type of reporting. Okay, so that's a little bit about some of the reporting that's available with Atomic Assessments. We've shown the student experience and how they take exams, again, just by going into Canvas. And then we've taken a little bit of information about how you can create and add those items to your Canvas interface. To build items, it is actually quite simple. There is a process to it. There's a lot of power in the system, which means there's a couple of different steps involved. But it's relatively simple to develop items under this tool. So you have an item bank essentially where you have lots of different items that you might develop. And then you can use our templates for all of our different NCLEX exams to build your own items. So for example, here is an item that is a multiple choice item on the right here and a case study trend item with 3 different tabs of information. So all you would have to do is duplicate this item that disconnects it from anyone else who's using this item. So kind of doing like a save as. I'll call this lunch and learn nursing item, just for a quick duplication. We're now in this new item here that allows us to now edit it any way that we want. So we might want to change the name of this nurse's notes to something else potentially, or we might want to change the hours of which this occurs or any of that other information on this particular tab. We can change our vitals in our labs, and then we can adjust this question if we want, or let's say instead of a multiple choice question, I want to do a token highlight question. So I could just add the token highlight question here. I can create the stem, create the narrative there, and then tell the system what's correct, what should be counted correct. And then once I save that, I've now added this additional item type to this particular question. Clearly, it's not been finalized there, but that's as easy as it is to create a new item. And maybe I want to have 2 questions on this particular item, or maybe now I don't want this multiple choice item, so I can just get rid of that. And now at this point in time, I've created an item with this case study trend item that is a token highlight item. So this now is the item that I'm delivering. So it's that simple to build additional items off of our templates that we provided. And then what you do is you assemble multiple items into activities. So an activity is just another name for maybe an exam or an assessment. An activity is multiple, 1 or more items, I guess you would call it. And then once you do that, you create your exam. You then lay it out in assignments on Canvas, just like I've done with all of these different items. And what's great is it lays out right alongside of your other content. So you might use modules or assignments with Canvas. You now can layer in atomic assessments items or exams right on top of or next to your other assignments that you're using in Canvas. So as opposed to having students go multiple different ways, you've got everything integrated and together with the system. Okay, I'll pause there and just check the questions. Yeah, question about how atomic assessments functions when course content is copied to multiple sections within the same semester from one semester to the other. Yeah, so atomic assessments works with course copy. So whether you use the blueprints area in Canvas or you're just creating manual course copies, you do have the option to continue to use those same listing of exams and items. It obviously clears all of the student data from that particular semester, but it could carry that assignment directly over into the new term. You can decide when you set it up how you want your item bank to work. You can have individual item banks for every course. So if faculty want to have their own item bank, don't want anybody else to have access to the item bank, you can control it that way. If you want kind of a communal item bank, so say central authoring type capability where everyone collaborates on items and then you share those out with the courses as part of the nursing program, you can do that as well. So lots of different options there depending on what your goals are. Again, Phil, that would be a great situation where you might want to chat about your specific situation and kind of go from there. Okay. Training and support is a part of this product. So if you adopt, we do work with you and the nursing faculty to train, help you build and develop items and support you along the way. So it's a product that we're invested in and we want you to be successful. So we'll do what's necessary to help your team get up and running. All right, we have just a couple of minutes left. I have covered the majority of what I wanted to cover in this session, but if there are any other questions, I'd be I'd be happy to answer them. Question from Sonia on ATI partnership. So this is atomic assessments. It's different than ATI. I would say what ATI delivers you are secure, sort of valid exams that are already authored, and that's what you're getting from them. This is a tool where if you want to create and develop your own items exams and have more flexibility in the item creation and the delivery of those across your curriculum, that's why you would use atomic assessments. So they certainly can be used together or in conjunction to fit different purposes. Okay, well, we will certainly send out the recording and please view that email to make sure that you've got that as well as our email addresses if you'd like to set up a closer demo with your specific institution. Thank you so much for your time and happy National Nurses Week.